Moved into Maple Hollow Estates thinking we'd finally found peace. Just a cozy cul-de-sac, decent schools, and a chance to start fresh after years of bouncing around looking for a neighborhood that didn't look at my son like a burden. My boy Aiden might be in a wheelchair, but he's sharper than a tack and tougher than most grown men I know. He's been through more surgeries than birthdays, but his spirit, untouchable. The only thing we wanted was a fair shot at a quiet life. But of course, this was an HOA neighborhood, and trouble never hides for long in places like this. Welcome to Prodigy Tales. Make sure you like and subscribe for your top-notch HOA drama. We were barely done unpacking when I noticed the twitching blinds from across the street. Some bleach blonde lady glaring through her window like we'd parked a tank on her lawn. She didn't wave, didn't smile, just stared. Her kid stood next to her, arms crossed, jaw moving like he was chewing on hate-flavored gum. I thought, okay, maybe we're the new folks. Maybe they're just curious. But that feeling in my gut? Yeah, it was trying to warn me. Next morning, Aiden and I were fixing up the mailbox when I saw her. She strutted across the street like she owned the sidewalk, iced coffee in one hand, HOA newsletter in the other. Just making sure you've read the community rules, like she said with a smile that made my skin crawl. Her name was Karen. Of course it was. Behind her, the kid, maybe 11, stared at Aiden like he was something gross on his shoe. I'm pretty sure we're all good, I said, keeping my tone polite. Aiden gave a quiet nod, trying to stay invisible like he always did when strangers stared too long. Karen's eyes narrowed just a bit, her smile tightening. Just making sure. We've had incidents before, she added cryptically, like she was hinting we were the next problem. We watched them walk off, her kid dragging his feet and looking over his shoulder like he was already plotting something. I didn't say anything to Aiden, but I clocked the way that boy looked at mine, like he was prey. And I've taught my son a lot of things, but how to survive? That was lesson number 1. A week in, and the weirdness just kept dialing up. Karen's blinds were practically worn out from how often they flapped open to spy on us. Every time Aiden wheeled down the sidewalk, that woman's eyes were glued to him like he was smuggling illegal lawn gnomes. But it was her son, Bradley. Yeah, I caught his name when she screeched it across the street one morning. Who really turned it up a notch. That kid had the kind of punchable face you only see in internet memes about future villains. First, it was the staring. Long, smug, uncomfortable stares. Then came the whispering. Whenever Aiden rolled past their house, Bradley would cup his hands around his mouth and shout fake sympathy like, do you need help moving your tiny wheels? Or my personal favorite, try not to fall out of your chair, Speedy. Aiden ignored him at first. He's dealt with worse. But I saw the clench in his jaw and the tightening of his fists. Karen? Oh, she saw everything and did absolutely nothing. Actually, scratch that. She encouraged it. One afternoon, Aiden and I were heading to the park. Bradley stood at the end of his driveway, arms crossed, smirking. Karen came out behind him, holding 2 popsicles. She handed one to him and said loud enough for us to hear, "Some people need wheels to get around, and some just need to try harder. Isn't that right, honey?" I stopped walking. Aiden tugged at my sleeve and whispered, "It's not worth it." But I could see his face was red, and not from the sun. We kept walking, but every nerve in my body buzzed. Karen wasn't just nosy, she was toxic. And her little monster of a kid, he was clearly learning from the best. By now, I wasn't just suspicious, I was furious. We didn't move here to be target practice for bored HOA witches and their bratty clones. Later that evening, I found Aiden on the porch alone, wiping his eyes. He followed me home, he said softly. Called me a cripple, said I should be in a hospital, not a neighborhood. That was it. I stood up, rage humming in my bones like a war drum. We're having a talk with Karen. Tonight. I marched across the street with Aiden beside me, not because he had to be there, but because he wanted to be. He wasn't some fragile flower. I raised him to speak his truth, even when his voice shook. But when Karen opened her front door and saw us standing there, the only thing that shook was her smug little laugh. "Oh, You need something? She asked, leaning on the door frame like we were Girl Scouts selling regret. Yeah, I said, forcing my voice to stay even. We need to talk about your son harassing mine. She blinked at me like I just told her the grass was made of jelly beans. Bradley? She gasped, fake shocked like she was auditioning for a daytime soap. That doesn't sound like him. He's a very respectful young man. I glanced down at Aiden, who stared back up at her with stone-cold eyes. He called me a cripple, followed me home, tried to knock my chair over. Karen rolled her eyes. Actually rolled her eyes. Oh, please, boys will be boys. Maybe if you weren't parading him around like a charity case. Excuse me? I snapped, stepping forward. That smile dropped like a brick. This is an HOA neighborhood, she barked, voice suddenly sharp, and I will not be threatened at my own door. I'm not threatening you. I'm warning you. Your kid touches mine again. There's going to be consequences. She gasped like I'd slapped her with a Bible. Are you threatening a child? I'm protecting mine. Just then, Bradley peeked from behind her, holding a Nerf gun like it was an AK-47. He looked at Aiden and mimed pulling the trigger, mouthing the word boom, with a grin that made me want to call every parenting agency in the county. I turned to Aiden. Let's go. We started to walk back, but Karen called after us. Maybe he should be homeschooled. Just saying. I didn't stop. But Aiden? He did. He turned his chair around, locked eyes with her, and said, You think I'm weak, but I've been training my whole life for people like you. Karen laughed like it was the joke of the century. She had no idea what was coming next. The very next morning, Aiden rolled out onto the sidewalk wearing the gloves I got him when he first started training. Not for basketball, not for any team sport, for jiu-jitsu. Yeah, my son can fight. Just because his legs don't work doesn't mean his arms can't end someone. Karen's kid didn't know that. Oh, but he was about to find out. I was trimming hedges when I heard it, the classic middle school war cry, Hey, cripple boy. I turned around just in time to see Bradley riding up on his bike, skidding it to a stop inches from Aiden. Still pretending you're tough? He sneered. Bet I can push you down that hill faster than you can cry for help. Aiden didn't say a word. He waited. Calm, collected. Then, just as Bradley reached to shove him, Aiden grabbed his wrist, twisted, and yanked him clean off the bike. The brat hit the sidewalk like a wet bag of ego. What the? Ow! Bradley howled, rolling over. Aiden backed up and let him stand. Bradley lunged like a flailing fish, but Aiden blocked it, hooked an arm around the boy's neck, and flipped him over his shoulder, in his chair, like he was trained to do. It was fast, precise, and public. Half the neighborhood had come outside thanks to the noise. Phones were up, cameras rolling, and there was Bradley, laid out on the sidewalk screaming, He attacked me! That cripple attacked me! Karen came running out in her robe like a tornado in Target slippers. You touched my baby? She screamed, charging across the street. Your baby assaulted mine, I said, stepping between her and Aiden. She looked around at the neighbors recording her every word and realized she'd lost the crowd. This is insanity, she shrieked. He's not even supposed to be here. This isn't a circus. This is a gated community. Aiden rolled forward and looked her dead in the eye. You raised a bully. I just introduced him to a real challenge. Karen's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Her face turned the color of regret. Bradley sobbed beside his twisted bike, not injured, just embarrassed. I leaned close and whispered, You picked the wrong family. The HOA president walked up behind her, arms crossed. Karen, we need to talk. In private. The end. Please like and subscribe for more HOA showdowns like this. Do you think Karen got what she deserved? Comment below.